Hi there. Welcome back to another delightful discussions. This week, we are talking with someone who is amazing at helping you take your knowledge or your message and turning it into an online course. So, if you have been looking for a way to incorporate this in your business, stay tuned. And by the way, I am your host, Mariah Young, First Impressions Director at the 48 Days Culture and Connections team. Stay tuned. I'll be right back with my awesome guest. All right, welcome back, guys. Make sure you grab your coffee, your water, your tea. I am going to have a fantastic conversation and we're going to learn about online courses, how to create it. Oh my gosh, you guys do not want to miss this out. I know that my guest, Nancy Giere, also has an amazing freebie for you guys, plus a book. I mean, seriously, you don't want to miss out. So, without further ado, I'm going to let her tell you her own story. So, let me welcome Nancy. Nancy, welcome to the show. Yay!
Hey, yay! I'm very glad to be here today. How are you doing?
Very good. I am on the opposite side of the country from you today. I didn't even tell you that.
Okay.
Florida.
All right. Well, I'm near San Francisco, so we are pretty far apart in a lot of
Yeah.
ways.
Usually I'm not this far, but yes, we're traveling today. So, Nancy, let's dive right in. We are ready to learn this. And just so everybody knows, this will also be included in our coach resources in our Culture and Connections newsletter as a resource for you. So, if you're not already subscribed, make sure you do so because you're going to want to get Nancy's info. I promise you are. So, Nancy, can you share with us, first off, what you do and how you got into it?
All right. Well, I work with businesses of all sizes that want to either monetize their expertise or uh, skill up their employees. So there's two different paths, and it all boils down to doing that through course creation.
Mm-hmm. And how did you get into course creation? I mean, that's a pretty popular thing, but I'd love to know how you got into it.
Yeah, it's very popular now. And, learning and development has been around for a long time. And I stumbled into it early in my career. My boss came to me one day and he said, "Hey, we need to put together a training program." We were part of a bank subsidiary that sold insurance products. And now the people in the bank were able to, the world had opened up. So everybody knows how old I am. And banks could also offer insurance products. And somebody needed to train them. And he said, "You're a good talker. Why don't you do it?" I was like, okay. I'd never done anything like this before, but he asked me to do it. He's a great guy. And I said, sure. So I really stumbled around and I put together a program, and it was at that time, of course, everything was done in person, trained up everybody. And I think it went okay, but I really didn't know kind of what I was doing or no way of how do you really put this together. So fast forward a couple of jobs, and I went to work for a company that created courses that were distributed on CDs. This again tells you how old I am. And it was all product for sale. And we created a lot of courses. And we had a whole team of people doing that. I was hired with about 40 other people, and it was a bit of a white collar sweatshop, and that we had to work to crank out all of this content very quickly. So to do that, we needed to all be following the same methodology. So I learned about this discipline called instructional design, which now, fast forward, I happen to have an advanced degree in. But what happened in that in that work situation is I had a direct manager and a quality assurance manager that reviewed everything that I did, and they would say, "Okay, what do we do to make it better?" So I'm doing the work, I'm getting feedback on the work, and they brought in Northern Illinois University to take us through instructional design. So it was a lunch and learn program, all on their dime. So doing the work, getting feedback on the work, and then learning about it at the broader educational master's degree level. Those three things made a huge difference in the trajectory of my career. Not everybody out there in this space has had that type of experience. Then over time, I worked my way up in the corporate side of things up to the point of being a training director. And what always stuck with me through this is, what do we do to make it better? So when I was coaching my team, what do we do to make it better? Now, here I am. I've been in the consultancy space for many years as well. And when I work with my clients, I ask the same question. What do we do to make it better? And I think that is just an important part in all of this, in that we have a lot of people, they want to get in the game and they're like, I was many years ago, where I really didn't know what I was doing, but I wanted to do it. And you can stumble around, you can try to figure it out on your own, and you can work with somebody that maybe they created a course that was really successful, but they only created one course. And I think the difference is, there's myself and there's other people out in the world like me. I'm not the only one, but for us, it's a profession and it's a discipline, and we've worked it, and we've created a lot of different courses for a lot of different people. And I think that's a huge differentiator. And that's the kind of thing people want in their back pocket.
Yeah, you're so right. Our boss at 48 Days, Dan Miller, the founder, he is a big advocate of, when you want to do something and you want to do it well, you get a coach and make sure that you
exactly.
have the best person on your side to get that done.
Exactly.
So Nancy, I think that is an amazing training. That's wow. Because you're right.
And it's the kind of thing that when I was going through it, I didn't fully appreciate the experience. Mm-hmm. And now when I look back at it, and if I can pinpoint one aspect in my career that made a big difference, it was that experience.
Wow. Yeah, I could see that. Many of us, we go in and we want to make online courses, and we purchase maybe a $10 thing on how to
template.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that is amazing. And you already dropped a gold nugget, but we are going to actually go through some of your juiciest tips. But
Sure.
You dropped an amazing gold nugget there about how can we make it better. I think we should always be asking that.
Exactly. And not to the point where you don't ever get anything done, but to really look at something and say, how can I make this better? Where is this? Is this ready for prime time? Oftentimes there's like the final tweaks at the end. They're not going to make a big difference. So you can hold off on that. But to really get it, when I think about making it better, is it a good experience for the learner? When they walk away, are they going to be able to do something they couldn't do before? Are they going to know something they didn't know before? Are they going to feel differently? Is it going to make a difference instead of just sort of fluff?
You are dropping so much gold right now. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's dive in, because I know you have some amazing things to share with us. Mm-hmm. So I asked you to bring our audience your top 2 to 3 juiciest tips and tricks. So let's dive right into that. Can you share with us your knowledge? That's what we want. Let's drop some more gold nuggets here.
All right, so more gold nuggets. I got a bucket over here of gold.
I love it.
Well, when you're looking at creating a course, the first question that you want to ask is really about the outcome. And kind of what I alluded to before. What do you want people to be able to do, know, and feel? And really think about, who are your people? And what do they need? That's the first thing you want to consider. And then you step back and you go, okay, these are my people, and I've identified what they need. What makes me the person that's going to help them solve that problem? And more importantly, what makes me unique? If we use things like sales training, for example, there's sales is sales, but you niche it and it's different. So the way that somebody is going to be selling a software product is different than somebody selling a coaching package, is different from. So when you're thinking about who your target audience is, you want to have your stories and examples be relevant to your people. So it's always thinking about your people.
You mean we don't just create a course because we want to and it's in our head?
Well, it may start there, but if you want to make money doing it, I would suggest that you think about who it's for and what the outcome is going to be. And to really be clear about the outcome, because oftentimes I think people can be disappointed because they sign up for something and they think it's going to solve their problem, and then it doesn't, and they're disappointed. Now, there's two things going on here. One is, was the description written in a really clear way so that they go, yeah, okay, this is what I'm going to get when I'm done. But there are going to be sometimes there are going to be people out there, they're going to look at something and this is going to solve my problem, but they don't necessarily read it thoroughly. So when you're coming up with your description, you want to make it clear and concise, bulleted items so that people can scan it. Because let's face it, sadly, a lot of people don't read anymore. Right?
It's true, scanning. I love that. And of course, I know you could probably talk on that topic for a while, right?
Yeah,
but we don't want to
that's
give
a whole other thing. The next idea that I think is very important is you want to design for the delivery method. Now, right now, if we look at what the typical delivery methods are, there's an online course that somebody is, it's self-study. They're consuming it independently. It's just me and my computer. Then there is something that is live online, which is usually delivered on Zoom. Oftentimes in a corporate setting, you might be asked to deliver in Teams, but Zoom seems to be the main player there. Then because the world has opened up, you can do things that are in person. Then lastly, there's a hybrid type of an approach, which is a combination of any of those three. So when you're putting something together, you have to think about what are the opportunities and constraints of the delivery method that I've chosen to use and really leverage it. It's very similar. I always like to give an example from the entertainment industry. So if you start out with a book, right? A book it's something that's reviewed. You read it on your own time. You make up the characters, you make up the settings. All of it is it's happening in your imagination. Well, then we can turn that book into a play. So when it's a play, now some gaps are filled in for us because we're looking at actors on a stage. And then from there, you go to a movie. And one of the big differences between a play and a movie is you can shoot a movie in any order, where a play, it starts and finishes in a particular window of time. They both are about the same time period, around 2 hours. Some things run longer, but 2 hours seems to be the typical window. And when so they're different, right? Because the play, it's live. It's happening in the moment. Where'd you know the show must go on kind of thing. Where a movie, if something goes wrong, you can reshoot, you can do things in any order, but they're both time bound. Now, then the last thing would be a TV series. So now we can binge watch things. So if you have a lot of content, you can have then a series of modules. So you kind of want to I like to think about looking at courses in the same way and take some cues from entertainment. One is different ways of people consuming the content means you've got to deliver your content in a different way.
Ooh, I love that metaphor. It's so perfect for the different, when you talk about the different levels of what you're delivering. Oh, so good. Okay. Do you have one more for us?
Yes, I have one more.
Awesome.
So engagement comes up all the time. And there's some ways that you can do engagement that are pretty straightforward. And that's just changing things up. And when you look at your content, think about how can you say as much as possible, communicate as much as possible in as short a time as possible. An example, last night I went to a Toastmasters meeting, and somebody who's getting ready to go and compete in the international competition, he came to practice his speech with us. And a lot of the feedback was around what could he take out? What were things that he was describing that didn't really add? So he talked about a triathlon. He talked about what a triathlon was. And then he said, now the Ironman triathlon. And then he explained the Ironman. He didn't have to explain both. He could have gone right to the Ironman, and we would have been good. So it's really thinking about it from that angle. And this is where a lot of us got lost during the pandemic because everybody's like, oh my God, what do I do now? I got to rush. I got to get my content out into the world. So it was record a webinar, put an intro and outro on it, get it out there, and people will and call it an online course. Well, no, it's a recording. And it's perfectly fine to provide recordings, but say that it's a recording. Because when you get into the online course space, you're thinking of dividing up your content into segments that are short and that are concise, that somebody can watch a video. Then you give them a worksheet to complete. Maybe they'll have a quiz, but it's much more granular, and it allows people to work through it, and you don't risk sort of the fade. Oftentimes when we're doing something live in a webinar, we can get tangential. We're responding to things at the moment, and it's great because that's the community that's there and they're having that shared experience. But when then it gets transitioned out into recording, I'm no longer in the community, and I don't necessarily care about the Q&A. And I just want I want you to give it to me and do it as quickly as possible. Because let's face it, we're all really busy and we want to get to the point fast.
Oh my gosh, Nancy, you are making me think so much. I am loving everything that you're saying because as an entrepreneur, a solopreneur even, oftentimes we purchase all these things. And like what you're saying is so relevant. You purchase something and you think, oh, it's going to fix my issue or I'm going to be able to. And so often you get done and you're like, I didn't even get the information I wanted. And so being more clear as a content or as a online course creator would be so helpful.
And it's very similar to that. I'm probably not the only person that has business books on my shelf that I haven't read yet. And I think online courses are kind of coming into that space now where, hey, I've got all this. But I think what happens is, we're so conditioned, kind of going back to the entertainment analogy, to consuming content on screens of all sizes. And what we forget is if we're watching a movie, a TV show, a news show, a commercial, the scenes are changing very rapidly. Every couple of seconds, there's something new happening. So our brains are conditioned to this movement. And then we go to take a course and we don't have that same experience when we're doing an online course where we're on our own. So I think there's like this disconnect going on that our brain is waiting. Something's got to happen here. And then nothing happens, right?
I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. So you've already dropped so much gold. And what we're going to go ahead and do is because we want people to work with you some more. If they are looking to add an online course to their business, to their message, whatever it is that they're doing, we want them to work with you. So you have been super generous. You have given us a freebie, which I'm going to drop in the comments right now.
All right.
8 steps. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So what that is it's a very short, in the spirit of keeping things concise, it's a short ebook called 8 Easy Steps to Create Training That Sells. And it gives you just a good framework that you can follow at a high level to really the methodology that I alluded to. It's based on the instructional design model that I learned many years ago and continue to follow.
Love it. And then you also have a book, which I am also going to go ahead and drop in here. I'm pretty sure I put it in the description. We're just going to drop it again, just in case.
Great,
Can you tell us about your book?
Yes. The book, I'm going to hold up a copy of it here. It's called Bundle Your Brilliance, Turn Your Expertise into Profitable Online Courses. And I wrote this book specifically with thought leaders in mind, authors, speakers, coaches, as a how-to guide. So this is really an expanded version of my methodology and my approach. And I deliberately made it as practical as I could. And there's access to all kinds of tools that you can use, spreadsheets, templates, to help you work through the process. And
Awesome.
It's available both in paperback and Kindle on Amazon.
I love that. I love that.
That's
And
infomercial
so
time.
yeah, you're following your own things, right? You got your freebie, then you got your book, and then you also have some ways that people can work with you. So what is the best way for someone who is like, okay, yeah, I need Nancy on my team. I need to be coached through this process. What is the best way for them to work with you?
I would say that the two best ways for them to connect with me, one would be through my email, which I can put in the chat here.
I
Or
think
do
we've
you
got
have
it
it?
in the
Oh, you've got
description.
it in the notes. So
Yeah.
email me, or you can find me on LinkedIn and send me a message on LinkedIn. Those are the two best ways to reach out. And I've got a lot of different ways of working with people, from group programs to one-on-one programs of varying duration. I like to meet people where they are
Yeah.
and take them where they need to go.
I love that because, right, it's both budget, time, and
Yes.
where they're at. There's so many
Yes,
factors.
exactly.
I love that. So that was an ugly link that I ended up putting in there.
Oh,
I'm positive that we have it in the description though. So guys, make sure that you go to the video description and grab her book. I mean, what a nice, easy way to get started. And then when you need some more help, because I know we all do, make sure you reach out to Nancy as well. Nancy, oh my gosh, you shared amazing information today. Is there any like top tip or last thought that you would like to share before we wrap up today?
And my final thought for today is I encourage everyone to really be intentional about what you do, and really think about, as I said earlier, who your people are and how bringing an online course into your business model can make a difference.
Mm.
Oftentimes there's this idea around, I want to sell, I'll sell a lot of them and I'll make all this money. Stop and think, how big is your list? What's your reach? And then consider, if I'm a coach, how can I bring an online course into what I'm doing? I've got things I say over and over and over and over again. Maybe I can put that into a course. And then I can have my clients go through and do a module. They complete a module. There's an assignment at the end. Then when they come to work with me, I can engage at a deeper level because they've got the basics nailed down. And I think it's a lot easier to sell a smaller number of high ticket items than a huge volume of low ticket items when your list is small and, like under 2,000.
Yeah, that's such a great point. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Nancy. I really appreciate it. And guys, if you have questions, I know a lot of you catch this on the replay, please make sure to post them. I will pass them along. And also, if you would like to stay up to date on our lunch and learns and our coach resources, make sure that you do sign up for our newsletter. And Nancy actually is featured in our August one under our Coach Connections. So please make sure that you check it out and pass it along to anyone that you think would also find value in this information. All right, guys, thank you so much. Thank you, Nancy, for joining us. And until next time, live creatively, friends. Bye.
Bye.